Welcome to Great Talk and Entertainment. I'm your host, KJ, and this is the podcast where I review movies and TV shows from all your favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talk and Entertainment official channel. Now let's go, baby! Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm your host, KJ, and this is my spoiler review for the new Star Wars series on Disney+, Star Wars Skelton Crew. And this is the episode 1 spoiler review. So if you have not seen this, pause this, go watch it, and then come back and let me know what you think about the new Disney+ series, Star Wars Skeleton Crew, here after the spoiler review. So, y'all been warned. Let's get into it. Episode 1 starts off with a band of pirates raiding a ship that they thought it was going to rob, but there was nothing in there. No type of credit, which is money to them. And then we get introduced to the Wolfman himself, Brutus. And he's upset about this whole thing because, again, there's no credit. Which is, again, that's money in the Star Wars universe. We get into a planet where we meet a kid named Wim, who is more interested in the Jedi's life the way they do. And, he has a big imagination. He's very kid-like. Again, he's a kid. He's a young boy. But then his best friend, Neil, who likes to play and have fun and pretend playing lightsaber battles. And, Neil is a child again who is an alien, but nevertheless, he's a child who's just being a kid. But what makes him different between his best friend, Wim? Well, this is where he takes his schoolwork very serious. And we learn that this new school is run by the New Republic. And so this school is very strict. It has a goal, a mission. They're getting everybody well prepared for life in the Star Wars universe. And so Neil is again, he's more serious. He even has a crush on a girl who's an alien species. And so Neil's all about school. Now, unlike Wim, where there was a scene where they're in class, and we see this woman named Secretary Farah, and she was walking by, and there's Wim just drawing on his desk of a Jedi, and she calls him out, and he straightens up, of course, right? And then that's where she starts explaining that, they got to get prepared. And she was asking people, like, what do they want to be when they grow up? And this is where we learn the difference between Wim and Neil. Again, just two different outlooks of how they view life or handle, like, responsibilities or big changes. So Neil obviously gives an answer that sounds like the way his parents work at, and even Wim's father, who is like a data, some source, or maybe a banker, I forget, but he works for the New Republican, like all these kids' parents do. And so, this secretary is expecting them to say an answer that their parents should have raised their kids to want to be. That's why they're going to school. But as Neil gives an answer, again, says something like that. But then, after a few more students, then the lady calls out Wim, and he pretty much says, without saying he wants to be a Jedi, he wants to be somebody that helps people, rescue them. And of course, the droid, who's the teacher there, said that's a droid's job. That's not a real job. So I guess protecting people and saving them is not a real job in the Star Wars. So it's very interesting that within this show that they think Jedis are not real, like it's all made up or it's a myth. So basically, Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader, he's pretty much like a demon or a monster that's made up in a book. So, you know, it's nuts that that's where they're at within this timeline. Because let me just point this out, and I want to bring this up too. The fact that in timeline, this is after the Ahsoka series, and then it's like after this show is the one of the cartoon animation Star Wars film, which I forget the name of it, so I apologize. But it's pretty much not even close to when the newer Star Wars films started, where they had Rey Skywalker starting up that series again. So it's very interesting that before all this and what happened in the events of Ahsoka, like, they don't even know that happened, or they don't believe in it. Like, the New Republican has literally done their best to make sure they don't get information like that. And I mean, this is nuts. Like, I can't believe it, but this is how they're portraying, and I thought that was very interesting. So this Whim is basically, he wants to be a Jedi because he reads them as like a storybook, like a fantasy. And what's really interesting about this show, and especially in like episode 2, which check out that spoiler review if you haven't, but these kids, especially Wim, he acts like a true Star Wars fan, like people do in real life who are Star Wars fans, whether you're young or older. They act the exact same way. He geeks out about it. He nerds out about it. Like, he's literally portraying what us fans do when we like Star Wars stuff. So, I mean, it's all there. And, you know, you see how he just wants to not pay attention to school. I mean, even this is where we get introduced to two new other characters, Fern and KB. And Fern is somewhat similar to Wim, and KB, who's like a half human, half cyborg. She kind of has a similar lifestyle like Neil. And what I mean by that is Fern and Neil only have one parent. But let me make this clear. I can't officially say Fern only has one parent, but that's the only parent they showed was the mom, which is the secretary of Ferrara, or her name is Ferrara. But so far technically those two characters only have one parent. We know Wim lost his mom. That's what they confirmed that in this episode too. But he after he got caught skipping school, he was just late for the bus. But we know that. And then, like, I believe Neil has both his parents and some other siblings. And so I feel like KB might have two parents as well. And that's what the scenario is. Wim misses his test because he missed the bus, and he tried to take a shortcut, but he got stuck in this ditch, which we discover that it's a spaceship, but he thought it was a Jedi temple. And Neil, of course, he passes his test, and he did very well, and he's happy about it. But within that episode, obviously Wim's dad is very upset, and he seems like he needs to, like, pretty much grow up, basically. But his dad pulls some strings and got him a second chance, so he has to pass this test. He cannot fail misses because the points they put on him. So he has to pass this test with flying colors. And later on, Wim and Neil sneak out and go to where Wim fell in the ditch, where he thought it was a Jedi temple. But after Wim, KB, Fern, and Neil all finally got the hatch open, they realized it was a ship. And at first, they were being cautious, but then Wim was like, I'm going to touch everything. And then KB got the ship to activate, and all they did was hit this engine, and it started, and then of course Wim hit some buttons by the pilot and got the ship to fly, and it flew all the way to space into hyperspace, sending to another uh, location that's far, far away in the galaxy. So that's how this show ended. Now, what I like about this show is it reminds me of like Peter Pan. It also reminds me of like the Peter Jackson series or a Narnia. It reminds the Little Rascals movie. Like that's what it kind of reminds me of. And we're getting the view of Star Wars life through a child's of the eyes of a child, basically. And it just has a lot of fun, innocent adventures, and you can see like the parents never believe the child. You can see that this is a well structured place, and the name of the planet is Aten, and it looks like Earth, but it's not Earth. When I first heard like they were gonna do something like that, I thought, oh, they're gonna introduce planet Earth, but I guess not. But I guess that's not important. Like this pretty represents Earth. It's a middle class homes. They got good parts, bad parts, but it's all like pretty much being watched. It's protective. It seems like everybody's making money. People are living good. Like life's balanced out on this planet. But obviously, like this is a place that has some dark, dark secrets and a history that is being covered up by the new Republican. So it's got a lot of that. Now, as far as like how the graphics are, I think it looks fine. I know a lot of people complain like Star Wars doing CGI and not enough like the old ways, but you can tell some of those characters, like non-human characters, were like CGI, but I see some puppeteering in there. But I don't see nothing wrong with it. I think it's pretty decent for it, especially for a Disney Plus series. So I have no really complaints about the graphics and the designs to it. I think the cinema photography is great. It doesn't look like a CGI night. It looks like real nighttime or daytime. The cars, okay, a little bit bad, but not too bad. But it's fine. It looks good. I also just like the idea of like the Star Wars keeps hinting like the new Republican is up to something like even more bigger, and like with the events of what happened with Ahsoka, I wonder if like where have they been now and how much process have the new Republican has achieved since like somebody like Ahsoka is left in another like multiverse galaxy type thing and nobody knows about it. So I just wondered, and I wondered like what are they up to, and you some say well the answer's in like those newer Star Wars, but I just want to see like when is there an earlier timeline where people start realizing like the new Republicans up to no good. So that's what I like about that idea of this mysterious thing going on here now, and how do people just live their life like and act like nothing happened. It's very interesting, but there's a lot of secrets that the parents know that the kids don't even know about, and it's going to take 4 of them to figure it out. That's what it looks like. And I like the idea too that this is a pirate theme. Like this is about pirates. Like Skeleton Crew is about pirates. So they're space pirates basically. And we get a view of how they view what's been going on in all the events through the Star Wars universe and what that looks like to them, and how did they stay under the radar, like just so much. But it's gonna be like a pirate theme, and I hope like there'd be like some pirate songs. But I think it's gonna be very interesting, and I think it's gonna be fun wild ride to watch, of the excitement, and it'll be action, but it's gonna have a different type of action to it that I think only you would pretty much like if you're into it, but like Prince of Narnia or something like that. But it's so much, so much. But that's what I like about the plot and the story. They're kind of taking with it and how they're trying to tie it in with so much Star Wars content. I think it's nuts. Like, there's so much reference in just episode 1. Like, that has reference to the prequel, to some other Disney Plus shows. Like, it just, I mean, there is one reference where they mention the Mandalorians, in a way, without saying Mandalorian, but it's neat to see it. Like, and I also just like how the Jedis are now just a myth, like a made up story in the Star Wars universe. Like, I wonder, like, how did who started this idea of keeping them like that on the low? Was it Luke Skywalker? Was it Ahsoka? Was it Yoda? Like, who? I don't know, the Mando, Grogu? Like, who knows? But I feel like there's like a much deeper meaning to why all the Jedis hid. Obviously, a lot of them are dead, but we only know about Obi-Wan. Kenobi is, I believe, he's the last surviving Jedi. Well, no, Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan, Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka, and the two other from that series too. I mean, there's a lot of handful of Jedis, but it seems like the way this episode is explaining it to how they view it is that small amount of Jedis we have seen throughout the Disney Plus series, that it's not a big handful. So it must be a really small number of the Jedis existing right now, especially in this particular timeline order. Like, I think that's nuts. So I just wonder if this is going to be the show that discovers the big secret to it, because I think something like that has to explain, like, why, like, these people don't believe in Jedis no more and they don't believe they're real. Like, the execution to that answer has to be really good. If they're only doing one season for this, like, I would hope they would have the execution to this correctly. Like, it has to hit the target, basically, to make this make sense, especially to the hardcore fans of Star Wars who's been following all the content of this stuff. So I really believe, like, man, it has to be a really good reason. I'm hoping for it with that. Now, I like the view of, we're looking through the eyes of a child too. I think it's different. I think it shows how innocent these kids are, and it's like they're gonna grow and become of age with maturity and stuff. Like, we get to see that, and possibility of future heroes in the Star Wars series. And I wonder if these are going to be the kids that's going to be after the last 3 Star Wars movies in theaters that they have really released in the past. I wonder if these are the kids who would have been adults by now. So I wonder that. Which leads to a topic I want to bring up, is the character Wim. I like his character so far. Obviously, he's just a immature kid who just wants to play, doesn't take life very serious. He's not really focused in his responsibilities or chores. Like, he was a messy kid, always has his toy on the floor, late for school. He does his homework, but he just does enough where he can get by. So he's not an honor roll student, and he's probably not trying to get A+, but he's just skimming through life. And where he lives at, nobody in his neighborhood, his school, uh, thrives like that. They're doing everything they're supposed to do, and he's naturally just wants to be the opposite of it. So, and I wonder like what happened to his mom, and maybe was his mom a Jedi? If his mom is, who knows? Because where does he get the love for Jedis? And obviously, there are books and stories like you see that he's reading on his like version of a tablet in the Star Wars universe. But what I like about him is I think like he could be a Jedi. They're kind of hinting him becoming a Jedi, but also he kind of in his situation too. He's a person who could be on the dark side, because one thing about Jedi is you can't really have too much personal chat attachment to people you may love or care for, like a husband, a wife, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, or a mom or dad. Like, you kind of have to, be like emotionally disconnected from all that and do the Jedi way. So the idea of like him wanting to be a Jedi, and I think they wouldn't accept him anyway. Well, they wouldn't for like Anakin Skywalker, because of when he was a boy, he was kind of a little bit older, and I feel like that whim is kind of like that too from Star Wars Episode 1. So I think the idea of him becoming a Sith Lord too is a possibility, but does he overcome that within one season? I don't know. But so again, they're teasing the idea of him being a Jedi. Or maybe like he becomes the new version of like Han Solo. I'm just not sure. But it could be that too. But what I'm saying is it's going to be real interesting to watch him find the path he chooses, especially if it's just one season. And, where does he go from that, and what type of person does he become is going to be very exciting to watch. And I'm pretty sure they're going to anticipate that would probably be on the last episode of of this season. But it's going to be really fun. When it comes to like Fern and KB, I can see Fern and Wim kind of becoming true lovers in their adult life. But I also see KB not making it. I don't think she's going to survive in timeline wise. But I could be wrong. And then when it comes to Neil, I feel like Neil is going to be the best friend that joins the New Republican, and Neil's going to be the one in his adult life to capture or arrest Wim as he stays on this path that these kids are going on for this adventure of season 1. So yeah, I think it's going to be one of those, and it's going to be a weird thing, but it's going to be fun if they continue that way. I don't know, but that's why I could see it with these characters. I think this is just a show basically kind of teasing the idea of like where their path's gonna go when they get to their adulthood, basically. And I think that's what this whole show is gonna be about. So that's why I do like this show, and I think it's gonna be really fun to watch. So I'm definitely excited. And to give this a 1 out of 10, I'm going to give this an 8. I mean, it was really good. Really great episode. Kind of a little slow, but I wonder what this is going to be about. And I think episode 2 starts picking it up in the action and the pace of this show. So definitely ready for this, and I liked it. So that's my review, y'all. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment official channel. Subscribe. Hit that notification button so you always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you guys, and peace out.